to excuse me and my and my throat, but I'm sponsored by a well-known brand of bronchitis medicine at the moment. So, but it was important to be here, so I am. What am I doing here? Well, I'm, as you know, a broadcaster, journalist, author, mother, and a consumer rights campaigner. And I spent many, many years at the BBC fighting for the little guy, wagging a finger at the big guy, and standing up for what I thought was right. And when Lloyds Action now approached me a year and a half ago to get involved in this campaign, I knew very little about it. I'm not a Lloyds shareholder. Thank God my parents weren't, although they very typically could well have been. But I don't think, in my experience, in my history of consumer campaigning, I've ever come across such a flagrant, such an obvious, such an outrageous exploitation of the little guy. It's bullying by the big guy, and I've been fascinated by this, I can call it this story, this expose on many levels, but I'm very aware that not only is it a great story to get my teeth into, but it's an outrageous human story as well, the loss that's been suffered on so many levels. And the fascination for me is that whereas on Watchdog I spent many years supporting people who may have handed over cash in advance for people to tarmac their drives, I'm very, very aware that the kind of people that we're dealing with haven't done that. And I speak to you as probably all shareholders, that I know that you are prudent investors, you're not wealthy hedge fund investors. You have prudently put your money into what you quite rightly expect to be a fund that will look after you throughout your life and possibly through your children's life. It was an investment in a very blue chip bank, something that really you couldn't have done more homework about. If you were to choose pension funds or Lloyds Bank, probably at the time it was much more sensible to put your money in Lloyds. So I know that you are prudent investors. You're not people with lots of money in your pockets to spare. So this is something that you've done very carefully, and through no fault of your own, have lost out outrageously. And you know, there are many, many letters that have come to me personally since I got involved at Lloyds Action now, and I think this is a very typical one, which I'd like to just read to you. Dear Alice Beer, both my husband and I are retired and in our 70s. Of course, you're all much younger than that, obviously. Up to the merger of Lloyds, TSB and HBOS, we lived off the state pension and supplemented it with our Lloyds share dividend, which paid for keeping a car on the road, any large maintenance and repair bills, and any holiday we took, which amounted to 2 weeks a year. Since the merger, our income has dropped by a third, and we've had no holidays for the last 2 years. We're also supplementing our living costs by using what savings we've got. As you know, this situation cannot carry on. We cannot sell our shares due to the ridiculous low price, and this would jeopardise any future income. That's very, very typical of somebody who was using their dividends to get by. And I believe that this story of how the politicians, the bankers and the highly paid advisors prejudice ordinary people must be told. And that's why, in a way, I'm not being paid by anybody to be here. I feel that I have an important role as a conduit, if you like, judging by the number of emails I've had saying, is this a scam? Who are these dodgy people? Should we give them money? Well, the suits might be dodgy, but from the research that I've done, these ain't dodgy people, and I spent a year and a half in very close contact with them. So, although I cannot put my hand on my heart and tell you you're going to get a lot of money back, I cannot put my hand on my heart and tell you you're going to get any money back. I can tell you that I don't stick my neck out for many things. I don't endorse any products. You don't see my name yet, although it comes in, endorsing products on the television. So I don't put my face to that many things. It's got to be something that I feel is quite safe and secure, and I do feel that this is quite safe and secure. And if my parents asked me, am I throwing good money after bad, I would say, I think this is something that if you can afford to do it, you have to do it, to pursue it, to right the wrong for yourself. So that's where I stand, and I think it's important to hear some of the, I don't like calling them stories because they're not stories, the situation is real life. Some of the people who are in the room who not only might want to ask questions but tell us sort of why they're at where they're at. And I know that Mr. Huxley is primed and ready to go, so I'm going to introduce you to him. Let me give him a microphone. Can you come and join me over here, Mr. Huxley? You could stand right here.
I'll get behind the microphone, can I?
Oh, you can use this one, yes. You can't use the seats, though.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm 79 years old, disabled pensioner. I spent my life as a self-employed household removal contractor. In 1980, when the housing market collapsed, my business collapsed as well. When everything was cleared up, I finished up with £50,000 plus what other savings I'd had before. Where am I going to put this money in and do the best with it? I think the banks are the safest place to put money. So I put £22,000 in Lloyds and £22,000 in Bradford and Bingley. They both paid beautiful dividends, 8 and 9% each time, and we lived comfortably and happily receiving those dividends. I'd already got some shares from Barclays. I won't say much about Barclays except this: the shareholders employ all the staff in Barclays and we pay them well. They've helped themselves to billions of pounds in bonuses, and this year they've paid the shareholders a penny halfpenny for the 12 months dividend per share. And I think that's an utter disgrace. And how they've got their face to show, the cheek to show their faces, I don't know. We all know what happened to Bradford and Bingley. The chairman of Bradford and Bingley came forward and said we've got enough money to see us right through in cash, right through the whole of 2009. They came up with a very successful rights issue, which I put another £5,000 in, and then the government nationalised it. They sold half of it, the savings half of Bradford and Bingley, to Santander, and I think they got 16 billion for the half that they sold to Santander. The other half of it was the mortgage half, and presumably they're still collecting the mortgage money from the people that had mortgages, or selling the properties to those people that reneged on their mortgages. So that's what I think of Bradford and Bingley. We've had no compensation from the government. So that's £22,000 a day. Now we come to Lloyds TSB, where we've heard all the story. I believe there's been a conspiracy of silence between the Bank of England, the Financial Services Association, the government, and the directors of both the building societies. I've lost everything. If it wasn't for my wife's civil service pension, I couldn't live and I couldn't eat. And I'm in a position now where I'm dependent on my wife to keep me, and I'm absolutely ashamed of the position that I'm in. But there's one thing we can all do now. We need to get everybody that's not joined Lloyds Action now. We need to publicise, and we need to write to our local papers, ask them silly questions if you like, but make sure in your question you put www.lloydsactionnow so that they find out who we are and join us. Because the more people that join us, the stronger we will be. Thank you very much for letting me speak.